Finger guts.
Like
Yep. Pew pew. All right, Red, you ready? Episode 2, Bourbon 101.
The Americanist of whiskeys. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Red.
And I'm Grim. This is worthadram.
Your home, whiskey reviews, American opinions, and excellent jokes.
Well, that's a matter of opinion, isn't it?
You know what? Crack that bottle open and tell me what a bourbon is.
You want to know what a bourbon is? You asked me nicely.
Please.
Okay.
So last episode we talked about, a little overview. What is a whiskey? We took a look at Bushmills. Today we're taking a look at Maker's Mark, which is a bourbon. So why don't you tell me, Graham, how a bourbon differs from a whiskey?
So, Red, there are 4 factors that go into making a bourbon. That just screwed me up so bad. All right, so the mash bill needs to be made from at least 51% corn. It can be higher. It absolutely needs to be bottled here in the United States of America. United States of America. It needs to be aged in new charred oak casks, and it can't have any flavorings whatsoever. No. The minute you add a flavoring to it, it just becomes a whiskey.
Whoops. Looks like I forgot there are actually 5 factors that differentiate bourbons from plain old whiskeys. Under U.S. federal law, bourbons have to be distilled at 160 proof or less and barreled at 125 proof or less. Sorry, folks, we're still new to this and we're bound to make mistakes.
No cherry, no...
None of that. So
peanut butter.
We will get... There is a peanut butter whiskey.
I know there's peanut butter
I've had
whiskey.
quite a few people ask if we're going to do it. We're going to have to. Interesting fact, in 1964, Congress officially recognized bourbon as America's native whiskey.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fun fact, bourbon, the name bourbon actually derives ultimately from the French Bourbon dynasty. Both the Bourbon County in Kentucky and Bourbon Street in New Orleans both get their name from the Bourbon dynasty. So, pretty cool.
So we are going to have to take a tour of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
I thought you were going to say we had to go to France, but I agree. We need to go to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail.
So, Red, today we're taking a look at Maker's Mark Bourbon
nice.
Whiskey. So Maker's Mark distillers have been operating out of Loretto, Kentucky since 1953. It is a wheated bourbon, so that is going to add a lot more sweetness to the profile.
Yeah.
And I believe a couple days ago, we did mention that this is bottled exclusively for Grimbeard Rogers.
It is.
So this is one of the things that I really appreciate about Maker's Mark is that they have just an outstanding customer outreach. Go onto their website and you can have custom labels printed out with your name on it. I don't know, can we get a closer shot here?
Close up?
Yeah. So... So I just, Grimbeard is obviously,
Grim.
Yeah, I've been going by Grim for a while. You can also choose a special date to commemorate.
Really?
So you can do this for people's birthdays. You can do it for special occasions, anniversaries. I happen to go with June 14th, which is National Bourbon Day.
Nice.
Yeah. That
Makes
might
sense.
it might be International Bourbon. It's Bourbon Day. Who cares?
It's Bourbon Day.
Yeah. It's Bourbon Day somewhere.
Yeah, well, of course,
Yeah. So
every day is Bourbon Day if you try hard enough. So interesting. So Bill Samuels Sr. Is who started the Maker's Distillery back in 1953. So he had the last copy of his family's bourbon recipe, which he promptly destroyed. Said, "I'm starting over. I want to make something that's mine," which is pretty cool. You can respect that American spirit. So instead of going through and doing a different mash of...
there's no cork.
There's no cork?
So, Maker's other models, so their RC6, the 46 profile, the Private Select, those all have corks. But they're standard. Sorry, buddy.
We're going to throw a party when we get to our first corked whiskey. Instead of making different mashes and distilling them and fermenting them and going through different recipes that way, he actually baked bread, which is how he came up with using red winter wheat instead of the traditional rye or other flavors that might be in there. So the mash bill from Makers is actually 14% red winter wheat, 70% corn, and the rest of it is malted barley. So that should prevent a well-rounded profile. Should make it a little
Surely
bit
you
sweeter.
mean present.
That's what I said.
Prevent?
I said present. I think if you roll back, you'll see I said present. So that should prevent should present well-rounded flavors and traditionally a little bit sweeter with that wheat in there. So take a look.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I'm coming into this with a healthy appreciation for Maker's Mark. This is my go-to bourbon for a lot of my mixed drinks. Let me say, all of my mixed drinks. I think I do a bourbon winter smash with the 46 because that's got a little bit heftier of a spice.
Yeah.
But I will say this is already one of my go-tos. So I'm excited to actually, analyze this, like actually get into it, and appreciate it for what it is.
I can't say that Maker's was my first bourbon. I can say though it was the first bourbon I remember drinking. If that makes sense. Like it's the first one that made an impression on me. How about that?
Yeah, I like that. I gotta tell you, that smells amazing.
I get a lot of oak. You get the oak.
Yeah,
from
it's
the
got
barrels in there.
It's got, so I mean that's gonna be
That's what I get first.
that's gonna be characteristic of most of the bourbons that we try,
Yeah.
I believe, because they're used in freshly charred oak barrels. They're gonna get that smoke every time. Different bourbons are gonna be stronger, but I mean that's what this whole channel is for. It's the exploration.
Going through all that, and then aromas change, tastes change. So we've talked about this. Well, not on camera before, but we've talked about this as we're setting up the channel.
Yeah.
Coming back and revisiting some of these early ones later and seeing, hey, I had a Hershey's Kiss earlier. Does that affect the way this tastes to me?
Oh my God! All right, so if we're gonna get down into it, the possibilities are endless.
Endless possibilities.
Like I just had a burrito. Can we go back to the?
Why not, right?
So,
It's gonna, speaking of the Hershey's Kiss, just gonna clear the palate there for a second.
I'm gonna jump right into this.
I think you should. Yeah.
Sweet, right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean like awesome sweet. Bourbons, due to the corn and the mash bill, bourbons are just inherently gonna be sweet.
Yeah, a little
right
bit
from
of
the get-go.
Sugar, and not like saccharine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I get there's almost like somewhere between like an apple and a grape flavor.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely like very very heavy heavy fruit influences, but
I almost get honey off.
oh,
that,
absolutely.
for sure. No, that's.
Very mild, very
I mean,
smooth.
it's. I mean, look, it's Makers. I mean,
So we could have gone with. I mean, arguably there are. Jim Beam is probably a little bit more well known of a bourbon. Makers, I feel like that should be everyone's starting point.
yeah.
So if
For sure.
if we have viewers that are just picking up whiskeys, they want to get into it, Maker's Mark is an excellent place to start for a bourbon.
Yeah. It's warm, and I mean that like you feel it when you drink it.
So I think last week you mentioned the coolness that you get
Yeah.
from Irish whiskeys. Maker's gives me that heated feeling in my
Yeah.
shoulders that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit of a sting, but right now, like it's warm. It just feels good. Like
Yeah.
it's
Relaxed, ready to go, ready to
yeah,
party.
yep. Yeah, I gotta tell you, this is. I was expecting good things, so I might be a little biased coming into this, but Maker's has always been one of my favorites here.
So, Grim, we poured 4 glasses.
We did because we love.
We
whiskey.
love bourbon. I mean, we love whiskey. I mean, why have 1 glass when you can have 2 glasses, right?
Why have 2 when I could have 3?
I'm just gonna go like this.
No. We already remember the
We already
Bourbon.
drank. That's true. That's true. Whew. Okay, so different schools of thoughts when it comes to drinking whiskey neat. Some folks believe, hey, let it breathe a little bit, let it aerate a little bit, flavors mellow a little bit. Different sort of taste than drinking it straight from the bottle. So, not sure how long it's been for you guys watching, but for us, it's been about 10 minutes, as I almost knocked that over. Yeah, and we'll see what the second glass tastes like.
Yeah.
So, on the nose for me is not much different.
About the same.
A little fruitiness.
Caramel?
Bourbon.
Yeah,
Bourbon-y.
yeah, it's
Bourbon-y.
it smells like a bourbon.
I mean, I do like bourbon.
Damn, you're already taking sips?
I mean, it's here. I like that. I
feel like the oak comes through a lot more.
Yeah.
After it sits, yeah, it's got
For sure.
A heftier of a smoke flavor.
But almost, and I want to say softer. Does that make sense?
Mellower.
Mellower.
So
Mellower.
Maker's Mark is already very, very smooth.
I can't drink like that. That was weird. That was a weird position to drink from.
Maker's Mark. I mean, I could do a whole episode on how much I love Maker's Mark. I'm doing that right now.
That's true.
So
Makers.
I'd say that people would probably argue that Jim Beam is a much more recognizable bourbon, but Maker's is such a great introductory bourbon because it's so smooth and it's so mellow, and it brings all of the great expectations that you would have coming, like starting to drink bourbon, like the vanilla, the caramel, the oak flavor. It's
fruitiness.
It's all right up front, and it's not, like a real punch to the back of your throat. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, it's not like starting somebody off with Lagavulin where it's just like drinking liquid smoke. Ron Swanson aside, definitely a much more approachable drink to start somebody out with if, somebody's new to bourbon, new to whiskey. Definitely, it's a good dram.
Yeah. I'd say it's worth a dram.
I can't. They said it. They said it.
It's funny that you bring Ron Swanson because, I swear to God, he is my spirit animal.
I mean,
especially,
I think we all kind of have a little Ron Swanson on this, but
yeah, but I mean, especially now. So, obviously, I've been essential personnel at work for
it's true.
The past month now.
I am not essential. Just
this pandemic has allowed me to be a little more rude at work. So I'm used to people coming into my cube and getting very, very close.
Very close.
Did you do that on purpose? Anyway, I've up until the beginning of April, I've just kind of dealt with it, and now I can smell you. You smell like oak and caramel. Anyway, now I can actually be a little more. I'd be like, you need to back up, man.
If there's anything I want to smell like, it's oak and caramel. I mean, by the way, did you just say caramel?
I did say caramel.
It's caramel.
It's caramel.
Caramel. Caramel. I'm pretty sure I said caramel earlier in the episode, but this is the hill I'm going to die on.
Well, it sure is. Because your argument's not going to go much farther. All right, so
caramel.
I understand that it may be spelled with 3 syllables. It may look like that, but listen. All right. I grew up in New England. We, as a people, we skip syllables.
Are you speaking for all of New England right now?
Most of New England, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, Connecticut,
Right.
Massachusetts,
Right.
Maine, New Hampshire.
You're the ambassador?
Out here, I have to be.
Oh, it's very true.
It's me and Brian.
That's,
I point at the wall like Brian,
Yeah.
Wait, can we replace this with a portrait of Brian?
I think we should.
Please.
He helped hang the wall.
He did. There's just as much Brian in this set as there is me and you.
I agree. There's probably a little bit more Brian than me.
So 2 episodes that we've gotten into some kind of an argument and called Brian out.
Well,
so while we're at it, comment below whether you think it's caramel. Or wrong.
Caramel. Oh.
I'm done. Caramel.
I'm done. Nope.
Well, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. You know, I don't mind my couch that much.
No?
No.
I want your couch.
It's not your couch anymore. Like, that's gone. I brought that to 5 different dumpsters. Brian and I. Here's another shout out for Brian. We had this ass-torn couch.
Amazing couch.
Depleted couch.
Oh, go ahead.
Buttstronomically destroyed couch. Why didn't I say astronomically destroyed? All right.
Couch that nursed me back to health after a broken back.
It probably
Nursed
herniated your disc.
Over many, many months, nursed me to health. And then I graciously said, hey, this is it's a healing couch, really is what it was. Not only physically, but also spiritually.
Yeah, I heard you. But you're selling this couch like a snake oil salesman. Like, buy a bottle from me and you'll never feel a thing again. Because you'll be dead.
This couch didn't actually kill anybody, just came close.
Yeah, I took care of it way before it
Got a taste for human blood.
Yeah. I will say that its favorite flavor was ginger.
Fun fact, whiskey burns when it comes up through your nostrils.
It sure does. Even just the aftertaste does a little bit. Speaking of taste, you know,
It was good. Even with a little nostril juice.
Maker's Mark makes my day.
Does it?
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like it's a perfect entry bourbon, and not just an entry bourbon. I feel like it's a staple in my bar cart. I've got a handle inside, and then I bought this one special. You know, it's smooth, it's mild, very sweet. It mixes well. It's delicious, neat. This is a 7 for me.
7?
Yeah.
So for me, I agree with a lot of what you said. Good entry-level bourbon, good flavor, definitely something you should keep stocked. But for me, it's a 5.
Okay. Do you want to elaborate on that?
No.
You're not you. I don't work for Makers. You
done.
can't hurt my feelings.
No, for me, it's perfectly good bourbon. It's something I would
Acceptable for you.
Perfectly acceptable.
All right.
I would keep it stocked in my bar, but it's not something I would go, oh, Makers, I have to go grab that.
Okay.
So
All right. So 5 for you, 7 for me, for an average of 6.
6
Yeah.
squiggles.
No, we're not gonna do the squiggles anymore. I think.
did we use the budget already?
Yeah. So I'm working on something else. I think I'm gonna do like a wooden banner
Ooh,
or something.
I like that.
Yeah.
Can we have an eagle land on it?
Man, I don't know. I haven't hired any animators.
America.
That all being said, thanks for tuning in. I'm Grim.
I'm red.
You pronounce wrong really weird.
You know what?
Remember to comment down below, like and subscribe. Check us out on Facebook.
Caramel.
No
Remember,
matter how you like your whiskey.
that's the right way.